What's going on? Big A coming at you with another video. And yesterday, during Netflix's To Dumb event, where they show loads of previews and trailers for things to come on Netflix, they released some footage of Cowboy Bebop. I thought it was going to be a trailer. Turns out it was the opening credits to the live action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop. And yeah, I watched it last night. What I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to watch it again and then express my thoughts on it. So kind of like, well, a thoughtful reaction rather than an on-the-spot reaction. So yeah, I'm just going to watch the trailer now and then, yeah, I'll just let you know as to what I thought. Yeah, so after watching it again, it's faithful. I guess the intro, it does have the same style, and aesthetic as the original, which was cool to see on the first time. Like I was like, oh man, they're actually redoing the intro, but in like live action, like all the kind of like silhouetted kind of things and like screen splitting off, and I thought it looked cool. And I was hopeful, and then kind of like you've got the footage of things within the show, like certain like secondary characters and kind of like antagonists to certain stories from the anime, and you're seeing them like in live action form. You see Vicious as well in live action form, and some of that stuff looks a little cheap, a little goofy, but it makes me wonder if the whole point of what they're doing is for it to be like a live action cartoon. And if so, kind of then what's the point? Don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting Cowboy Bebop to be dark and gritty. I'm expecting it to be a fun show, but why try and make it look like a cartoon or anime rather if the anime already exists? Or have it look like have it look live action. Don't try and make it a zany cut. Have the spirit is what I'm trying to say. Essentially, it needs to have the spirit. Like it needs to have the design aesthetic of Cowboy Bebop. That's fine, and have the spirit of it as well. But if they're just trying to create a cartoon in live action one for one, kind of, then it is kind of like, well, what's the point then? And yeah, so some bits of it, like the running, for example, the silhouetted running within the intro, that looks really odd. It looks like it was done with someone doing it on the spot rather than on some form of treadmill. But overall, I'm like 50-50 with it. I'm like, some of it, I'm like, oh, I'm glad they were respectful to kind of like what came before. And then the footage just kind of has me questioning as to what choices were made and kind of like what style the show is going to go with. Because you can have a show that's over the top, but doesn't have, say, for example, the cheap look. It's got a weird cheap look to it. Like you can have an over the top thing that looks like it's expensive, for example, but whereas this looks over the top and cheap, and it's that combination that I'm not too sure of. Like, for example, Doctor Who doesn't look as cinematic as The Mandalorian does. This looks more. I want Cowboy Bebop to be somewhere between the two of that. I don't think this Cowboy Bebop does that. You know what I mean? From what I've seen, I'm just going by the opening titles. Whereas if you've got something like The Mandalorian, that's completely cinematic looking, and they managed to achieve that doing a whole load of different like CGI. They even use a stop motion. You've got the volume, which they're using as well. You've got something like Doctor Who, which is more restricted, kind of using a lot more practical kind of stuff. Yes, there is some CGI on there as well. But I'd want Doctor, if that's the scale, I want Cowboy Bebop to be like in the middle of that. I felt Cowboy Bebop was more to one side. But I don't know. I'm like 50-50. I can't really like pass judgment on it. I can say I'm wary, I'm a bit, I'll still check it out. But I hope the main trailer that they release, which I think should be soon, is a lot better than what we got in the opening titles. But it was interesting to see the various antagonists from the show featured in the titles, because I wasn't expecting that at all. I expected it to be Spike, Faye, and Jet. You did see them, although you didn't see a lot of Jet though. I felt you had Spike the most, and then Faye and Jet you didn't see as much. But yeah, I don't know what to make of it. Essentially, I'm still at square one. I'm not excited, but I'm not overly disappointed because technically I've not really seen much yet. I'm just confused as to the kind of like look of cheapness to it that it appears to have to me. Let me know as to what you think of the Cowboy Bebop opening title sequence that Netflix released. Do all the things, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.